Welcome to 5 Minutes With and Happy New Year. Today we have Docent in Bioanthropology Markku Niskanen. Markku, welcome.
Thank you.
Can you please tell us about your research? What is it that you're working on at the moment?
Well, at the moment I'm focusing on morphology and genetics of horses. Just a few years ago, starting with the fin horse with the colleagues in biology department, Joni Aspi and Laura Siragusa, but now also collaborating with researchers in France and England. And basically the aim is to get as much information as possible about the morphology and the genetics of past and present horses, about the horse domestication and the spread of domestic horse, and how that horse also then affected human cultures globally, both in Europe but also globally.
And how did this research start for you?
Well, the horses have always been my passion. That is, I was put on horseback first time when I was 3, and I've been riding on and off since that. And for many years here, when living in Oulu, I had 2 horses for a long time also. So I have been always obsessed with horses. So basically it has been my hobby that now became my #1 research topic. Prior to that, I have been studying human skeletal variation for many decades, starting with my first years at university in the early mid-1980s. And both my master's thesis and my doctoral dissertation dealt with human skeletal variation, mostly human evolution.
Yes, but let's go back to the horse research.
Okay.
Can you tell us, how do you think that specific research and your new focus is actually related to questions that we are investigating within the program Biodiverse Anthropocenes?
Well, actually, now when horse was first domesticated, basically there was one source population that provided that gene pool for our modern domestic horse, which then spread very fast and replaced all other lineages of horses, which at that time were mostly or entirely wild. And so what we would say that we had a major reduction in biodiversity of horses as a species. And also then we have had a very intense artificial selection that has affected those local domestic horse populations that were adapting to local environment. So now we have what we can say that we have a so-called cosmopolitan breeds are replacing local land races. And that is very sad because those local land races are well adapted to given environment, and also they therefore would be very valuable gene banks. But now we are losing them.
Phenomenon?
That is basically a global phenomenon, but it's affecting, I think, Western world more than other parts of the world.
Right, yeah. And maybe let's go back to some of your key experiences with the horses. Can you share a moment that really became quite relevant for you and your research?
Well, there are actually too many of them to remember. That is, every riding experience is a unique experience because of interaction between a human and an animal. And we have very special relationship with horses. That is basically, we have a emotional transfer thing going on. We can, basically if a horse spooks something, the rider spooks also. If a rider spooks something, horse will spook. So that is what makes horses so fascinating for research. But then also because I'm extremely interested in biomechanics, and I have always liked jump riding and alongside all other kind of riding. So I've been interested in what makes horses good at something like jumping or galloping or dressage. So collecting morphological information, that is from measurements from living horses, as well as measurements taken from archaeological horses, will help us to then to be able to learn to reconstruct physical athletic performance from morphology. And we are making quite advances in that right now.
Great. I'll possibly then ask you one more question about the communication between you and the horse. How does that happen?
Well, basically, if you are, I would say that this horse will detect your emotional stages very well. Horse will also react the way you breathe. For example, if you breathe fast or slowly. And that is, you can basically, if you're cantering, and you can control the stride length of a horse by breathing. You can also make a horse stop from full gallop, just tensing your stomach muscles.
Okay.
Sometimes also, if you're a familiar horse, you can think about, okay, now we start cantering, and you don't even necessarily notice or think about you made any kind of move with your body, your horse starts cantering.
Yeah.
And so communication is extremely, astonishingly close.
Yeah. You would say it's like also a joint embodied experience.
Yes, it is very much like that. And there's more and more studies about that right now as well. And we're learning more about that, more scientific studies are made. That is, of course, horse people have known that for ages.
Wonderful. I guess the time is up, but this has been really informative and very interesting. Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for being with us, and see you next month.